There we are. Sorry.
Hey, no worries. We're live, so let's get this party started. So I sent out a few invites, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. And want to welcome all the people watching this after the fact, with regards to the so-called taping, so to speak. That's my old school speak for recorded stream. So Wendy, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Hello, everybody. So I'm excited. We were doing this on Clubhouse. Now we're Facebook world, right?
That's right.
This is where your people hang out. This is where my people hang out. So we'll chat over here, right?
There you go. There
so
you go.
You guys are popping in. Let me, are you able to see where people comment? Oh, I can see it now. Okay. So for those of you watching, we are streaming through StreamYard. So you can allow permissions for StreamYard to see your information. So we know if you comment below, we can see it pop up on our end here. So be sure and allow those permissions. But we are chatting about money today.
That's right. That's right. Making money moves.
Money moves. So I will tell you, as an entrepreneur, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs are this way, I was really good at making money. I was not really great at knowing then what to do with it. Do you come across that a lot, John?
I do. And it goes back to what we're taught, right? I mean, work hard, go out, get that great job, and kind of get started, or, hey, branch out on your own. Why don't you start your own company? And so most of us do what I call a bootstrap startup, right? They've got a few bucks, they go buy, this, that, or that. At least that was my case, back in the day with my first company. And you just try to figure it out, work hard. You start making more and more money. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm just going to continue to do with this new money that I have the old way of doing things. And it typically doesn't work out for people. But yeah, I run across it all the time.
Yeah. Well, and I was reading a post the other day. Somebody said, what's the one thing you should learn in school that you don't? And overwhelmingly the comments, I mean, there were like hundreds of comments, and almost every single one had to do with finances. It was either like managing finances, creating a budget, or taxes. Those were the three things that people said. And yeah, we're set up to learn how to make the money, right? Get the job, do well, study well, but not what to do. And that was the problem I ran into. Is I went from, a salary job where it was like easy to budget. I knew what my paycheck was going to be every 2 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. And then when I went into full-time entrepreneurship, and I started in the network marketing space, and my income just went like that, which was amazing. But I didn't know what I was doing with it, right? I'm like, I went from being a W-2 employee to a 1099 and didn't understand how much I needed to hold back for taxes, like none of it. And so I found myself 2 years in, my accountant going, here's what you owe in taxes. And I was like, what?
Like all at once? What do you mean?
I can't write that all off.
That's what I was told. They said LLC I can write. No, I get it, right? Yeah.
So I think that's where for me now, I coach other entrepreneurs, and I'm not like a money expert, so I send them your way, but I coach other entrepreneurs. But one of the things I like to talk about and bring up is hey, what are you going to do with the money that comes in? Because a dollar that you earn is not all yours.
No. And that goes whether it's on the front end or whether it's on the back end after you stack some. I always joke with people, we have to pay in the United States, we pay the federal tax to the IRS, right? Mm-hmm. You take those two words together, the and IRS, and put them together, and it spells the word theirs, because they are going to figure out a way to get theirs out of your pocket. Yep. So you've got to know, you've got to know what the rules are, mm-hmm. and how the proverbial game is played. Or else you're always going to get left in the lurch. You're always going to be very reactionary and things like that. So you're not alone in what you went through. It happens a lot.
Yeah. And I realized that that's one of the problems I saw. I realized in my business, we were in a company that was growing really fast, and mm-hmm. people went from literally a $2,000 paycheck to sometimes a 20 and 30. And I mean, I had friends that were making hundreds of thousands a month.
Yeah.
And I had a friend who was making over $100,000 a month and always was stressed about money. And I'm like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
And it was the first time I really understood that it doesn't matter how much money you make. It matters what you do with it. right?
And how much you keep. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So for you, like, I mean, let's just like go out of the gate, kind of the basics. And hi, Charlotte, thanks for joining. What is the thing that you would say to somebody that's all of a sudden starting to make money as an entrepreneur, or even, I mean, even salary job, right? Like, where should I start?
Well, you look at that, and you're right. It can be either in what I call a job, as a W-2 employee. You can make great money, and you can say, I don't know that you can actually hit that millionaire 401k millionaire mark, right? Some people say it's possible. I don't see the numbers adding up, but you can still make a lot of great money and have a great, nest egg throughout your life and retirement. But the key to the whole thing is, number one, before you even get started on what your steps are in actually growing the money and making the money or whatever the case may be, is you've got to really assess what your financial identity is. Okay. And that's key. I'm not trying to get too spiritual on this, but a lot of people, they come into life with, okay, my dad made this or my mom made this or whatever the case may be. And now it's looking at, okay, I'm going to try to get ahead of that. But if you come from, I came from what I would call a poor family, economically challenged, whatever you want to call it. We didn't have a lot of money. And so that identity was ingrained in me for a long period of time. And you get around that and you start realizing, hey, I look at money as evil, or, rich people are bad, or whatever the case may be. Right. And fortunately, most of us, as we go on and, go through life, get educated, start reading books or whatever, and I'm not talking a formal education, we just start educating ourselves, we can tend to break out of that. But you've got to be very cautious of that. And what I always tell people is do a money identity. What do you think you're worth? I mean, and I'm not talking hourly or whatever the case may be, but I mean, if I were to offer you, $5 an hour to rake my yard, you're like, no way. If you were a 9-year-old kid, maybe, right? If it's not too many leaves, whatever the case may be. So you want to assess that, and then realize that you can do and make as much as you want to. You can grow as much as you want to. And just like, you control your bills or pay off your bills, you can do the same thing with your income and taxes, as far as control how much you make, whether it's through side hustles or things like that. So you just got it. But that first step is, what's your money identity? And then the second, the real tangible step, or I guess tactical step, would be being intentional about the money. And what I mean by that is setting up the budget, right? And most of us in, middle America, especially, we think a budget, and I myself included in this, you think of a budget as keeping track of the money you spent. That's not really, that's you've already said bye to it. So it's one of those things that you've really got to be intentional about that money and tell it where to go. Just like if you were raising children or whatever the case may be,
right,
you're going to give them instruction, right? You're going to, give them guidance on where they can go, when they can go, and where not to go. You need to do the same thing with your money. If not, it's going to do the one thing it knows how to do, which is run away from you. And we see that with people, spending on lattes. And I'm not saying you can't do that stuff. It's just, there's levels of, you've got stuff that I need, stuff that I want, and stuff that I desire, kind of, that pyramid kind of flow. But you want to be able to be intentional about it. And that's that very first step is budgeting. And there's a whole bunch of tools. If you don't budget, don't bother, you're never going to get truly wealthy. Is my whole thing.
Yeah. And I struggled for a long time with the budget. And I think that there's a mindset issue there too, right? Mm-hmm. Like you said, it's, people think about it as the money already spent. For me, the budget, I thought restriction, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My business coach, she's like, Wendy, you don't operate well because I'm an entrepreneur. Now, if you have a W-2 job and this is what you make and you're not willing to do a side hustle or whatever to make extra, it is what it is. But for me, I determine how much I make and how much I charge. Mm-hmm. And, so I had this mindset issue. Like when I hired someone to help me budget, they were like Dave Ramsey mind and like restrict.
Yeah.
And I felt like panicked and stressed, and I got paralyzed in my business because I'm like, I'm never going to get where I need to go. Whereas she's like, Wendy, let's earn your way. Yeah. Right. She's like, okay, this is how much, I have student loans from when I was 30, right? Like student loans. And then because I wasn't the greatest when I first started, I have some IRS tax debt. And so I look at it and go, ah! And she's like, no, look, you can earn your way. How many people do you need in your mastermind to pay this off? And I'm like, 50. She's like, how many people are on your list? I'm like, 400. She's like, go. Right. And so then I'm like, oh, okay. It's 50 people. I'm 50 people away from being completely debt free. And so for me, like having that mindset shift of the abundance, and it doesn't mean abundance, spend everything. It means abundance. I can earn what I need.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a fantastic way to look at it. So that tells me your money mindset, your identity has changed from, again, I'm restricted to what I can make to no, there's money out there. And there is. I mean, for those of you watching, you can go out and do all kinds of things, even with keeping your day job. We've heard the side hustles you can do, Uber. We've got a lot of people in our program, our affiliate program, that, they earn extra money through our referral network. So there's a lot of different things out there. But if you're in that traditional W-2, really the only thing you can do is, okay, I can't really make more money other than my annual raise or whatever, so I'm stuck. Okay, that is not a reality. You're not stuck. You're stuck in that 9 to 5 slot. But what about 6 to 10? I posted on social media. It was Tony Robbins. He said, your 9 to 5 pays your bills. Your 6 to 10 builds your empire. And I was like, whoa, that is so true and so simple. And that's where people really need to start looking at, what can I do for extra money? Not just earn the extra money, but what am I going to do with that extra money? Putting that plan together and things like that. And that's where it starts with that budgeting piece of being intentional about your money. And it's not, restricted. You brought up Dave Ramsey. And I'm a huge fan of Dave Ramsey. About 85% of what he says. Some of it's a little dated, but it's good content. But the thing about it is, I look at him as more of a, an EMT type of situation where he shows up, an accident's happened, financial accident, if you will. And okay, we got to stop the bleeding. We got to do this. This is the things. This is the triage we're doing right on site. And it gets people on that safety level. It kind of stops the hemorrhaging, so to speak. And then they start digging out of that. Whereas what do you do beyond that? And, what is your plan more holistically? And that's where, start to surround yourself with people that know more than you do. I mean, whether it's in your business or money or whatever the case may be. And that's why we started this, this whole live stream was to help people understand not how easy it is, but how simple the process is. It takes work. Yeah. But these are simple steps that you can put into place to start, making more, saving more, growing more, and just important is keeping it from taxes and things like that. So yeah, and hiring the right people around you, like having someone like you to help as a guide, hiring a great accountant, right? I learned that the hard way too. Really, especially as an entrepreneur, really got to find somebody that knows what they're doing. And then, one thing you're talking with the budgeting that really helped me was setting up different accounts. So like I have an income account, and as soon as money hits it, I have percentages that I distribute out. And if it's not in my like house spending account, it doesn't get spent. Yeah. And that's helped me a lot because I'm not like I get overwhelmed with the tracking of everything, but I know what my set bills are. So those get an account. And I don't pull from that because I know that's to pay my bills. And then my spending account, it is what it is, right? Like, so if and I pay myself from a different account to my spending account weekly. So I give myself basically a weekly budget. And that's helped me so much rather than some people love the apps. And, to me, like, I don't keep up with them. And then before I know it, I've spent all my money and I don't know, right? Like, for me, that doesn't work. So it's figuring out, like you said, kind of that mindset, what you have, how you operate, right? There's not a one size fits all. No, there's not. And it's really, depends on the individual, but you need to go through that growth process, right? That pain, if you will. I call that a growth process, and really determine, what works for you. And there's, there are several great apps out there. You've got the Dave Ramsey Every Dollar, kind of simple, all the way out to the mint.com. I have no association with either one of those, but they're great tools to use depending on if you're the right person. But those individuals that are self-employed or 1099 contractors, like realtors, things like that, one of the things you see is a huge influx in income, and then the income may drop, or whatever the case may be, and which causes a stress of its own. You look at your friend that you were referencing making $100,000 a month, and it's possible, right? You saw it. I've seen it. So it's possible out there, but they're still stressed about money, even in that situation. Like, oh my gosh, what's their deal? Well, it's because they're not managing their behind the scenes that well. And so that's where, you start looking at putting in that receiver account for your income, and then start divvying it out, and pay yourself an income. And this is what I coach realtors on all the time is, what your monthly bills are. Yeah. Pay yourself an income steady, every, whether it's every 2 weeks or once in, first and the 15th or whatever the case may be. And that's your living expense. That way your receiver account can continue to grow. You allocate, 10, 15, 20, 25% for taxes, whatever you want to do. Talk to a tax advisor for that guidance. And then looking at, putting over, I'm going to reinvest in my business. You need to reinvest for advertising, whatever the case may be. And all of a sudden it's kind of all laid out for you. Mm-hmm. That's a great, I don't want to say a cheater way, like a cheat code on a video game or something, but it's a great, simple way. But you still got to be able to stay on top of it and have the discipline not to go, well, I kind of tapped, overdrew on my personal income this month. Let me go ahead and pull out some more, because then it kind of defeats the whole purpose. So that's a great way to do it.
Yeah. And another tip is the money that you don't want to touch. Mm-hmm. So like for me, I have a profit account and a tax account that I don't want to touch. My profit account, I touch once a quarter. My tax account, I don't touch until I have to pay taxes, right? But I have an account at a different bank that's really hard to access, and I don't have a debit card for their savings account. So I have to like go in, either do a wire transfer or go in and take it out. And then, but I also have those accounts set up in my main account, so I can transfer it quick, so it's out.
Yeah.
Right. Because it takes a few days for the other transfer. So it's like I need it out of the main account and go, oh, it's not mine. Okay. And then I move it to that offsite account that's hard to get to, because when that was my other thing too, like I would justify my spending and be like, I mean, I have money over here. Like I'll just shuffle and then I'll pay it back. You know what I mean? Well, you never pay it back.
And that's exactly what happens with people's credit cards, right? Nobody sets out in life to rack up, tens of thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It just happens. Right. And, because you're not paying the attention to it, and I'll pay it back later. Well, what happens? And then the car breaks down or whatever, and you have to spend that money. So, you found a great way, and it works, right? It works for you. There's probably some ways you can be a little more efficient with it, but it does work. And it's that if I know that, for example, we've got a cookie jar on our kitchen counter, but it's always empty. Because if not, I know I'll go and empty it, right? Because I'm a fiend for cookies. And so I've talked to my better half and said, look, just don't have them around, because that's my weak spot. And a lot of people's weak spot is money. I money just for whatever reason. That's not my weak spot. Cookies are, though. So you found a great way to kind of adapt to that and make it work for you, which is great, because your strengths, your weaknesses, and you're playing to both, right? So that's good.
So we have a couple people watching. Some people catch this on the replay. Want to know from you all, what are your big money questions? We're going to come here once a week. We want to be able to answer your questions. Or I'll just ask John and he'll answer the questions. But we want to help you guys, grow your income. And then, like John says, what is it? You want to make it?
You want to make it? You want to save it, grow it, and then keep it. I mean, there's a lot of ways to protect your assets, if you will, that most people just aren't aware of. I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, that's the whole reason that when you and I got together and started collaborating on this show, if you will, it was one of the things that my whole mission in life, it's like the Blues Brothers, right? I'm on a mission from God. But I want to educate people on money. I grew up, we didn't have a whole lot of money. What I did understand is it kind of sucked, right? And I wanted to learn what I could about money. And, I went out, got a college degree, and, got a job in banking, thought I'd arrived. But the challenge was a lot of turmoil in jobs, right? Yeah. You look at how many people were furloughed or laid off completely, or, got fired because of COVID. Who would have thought, right? They had no control over that. Mm-hmm. But the one thing you can do is control your money and make sure you prepare for the storms and things like that. And so that's why this was created. It was to educate people on money, because you go to school, and I'm a public school kid. I love public school. But it was one of those that they taught me about English, they taught me about arithmetic, they taught me how to read, but they never taught me about money, right? And back in the day, I even got to go to a shop class, right? I also went to home ec, so I went to both. Life skills. Well, there was never a money life skill class. And if you look at what's going on with most of us, the one lesson we taught or get taught from our parents or grandparents was, to spend less than you earn and save the difference, because the money you save today is going to save your butt tomorrow, right? Well, the question is, where do we save it? How do we save it? And that's where all these different tools. And so that's the whole genesis of this conversation, this show, is to really work with people and give them, this isn't a sales pitch. This is things you can use in order to improve your life and realize, wow, there's a lot more out there than my 401k. And there is. And, to work through with people on, John, I just can't save enough money. I hear that, so we sit down and go through some things like, yeah, you can't save enough because you've got a leaking boat. And you don't realize where all your money's leaking out to. So let's talk about that. Or, I'm so worried I'm going to lose my job. Okay, well, let's look at building your emergency fund up. How do I do that? And, so we work with them and step through, kind of the process. So I'm like, let's get this out there to Main Street and say, hey, here's what's going on. I don't care if you work with me or work with whoever, but work with somebody that's lined up on what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
And then, so there's, that's the whole thing. And I was on a show yesterday as a guest, and we were talking about taxation. That's a big one. You can control your taxes just like you can your debt. The amount of money you purchase a car for may be completely different than the price I pay for it because of credit. So we're going to talk about all this different stuff. So
that's awesome. Yeah, lots to talk about. One thing I wanted to just share, since I think the foundation, like you said, your money personality, I think money mindset is the foundation, and like, where's your starting point? And you had mentioned like money being evil or whatever. And I heard this analogy once, and it really, like, for anyone watching that feels like that struggle of, is it okay for me to want to make money? Is it okay for me to want to be successful? Like, I had that battle. And I think, John, we've talked about you feeling that way too in the past. And
for a long time.
Yeah. I heard this described once about money being like a brick. So think about a brick, right? It's an inanimate object, and someone can use a brick to build a beautiful home, or they can use a brick to throw and shatter a window, right? The brick doesn't change. The brick has no good or evil to it, right? It's the person using the brick. And so, and I've heard it say, like, more money just exposes more of who you are. If you're a good person, we need more money in the hands of good people.
Yeah.
We really do. Because there's we live in a world right now, it's like, oh, government should take care of everybody, right? If more money was in the hands of good people, we're called to take care of them, right? Let people build wealth and let them do. I mean, I have people on my team in my network marketing business that one wants to open a homeless shelter. One wants to open a place that serves veterans, right? One wants to do stuff with, pets or like rescue animals, like, and we're all created with these different desires and these different, I say one thing that helps lead people to their purpose is knowing what breaks your heart the most and what brings you the most joy can lead you to like where you're called to serve. And we all have this area we're called to serve, and it takes money a lot of times to do it. If you're not making the money yourself, you got to raise the money, right? Yep. Regardless, it takes money. And so I think, just understanding that money is inanimate. It's about how you use it, and just use it for good. Yeah. Well,
and I've not heard the analogy of a brick, but I've heard it as a magnifying glass, right? It is, and you're dead on. I mean, it's a tool, and the magnifying glass is either going to magnify the fact that you're a good person and going to do good with it, or you're a bad person and going to do bad things with it, right? And that's it. I mean, it's a piece of paper. It's really anymore. It's just ones and zeros in a bank account. But it's a fact of knowing what to do and knowing what your goal, your mission in life is. And, mine is to educate people on money, because I see that as one of the biggest problems in our society today. It's a lack of resources, and you boil that down to how do we attain resources? Through money, right? We use that as our common exchange format. And so if I can teach people how to do those things, to go out and make more money, side hustle, you talk about network marketing, there's a lot of people that, kind of shake their head at that. And I'm like, there are a lot of people making a lot of money doing network marketing that I know personally as clients. And it's like, okay, well, so that's a valid, strategy. Or whether it's a night job or a side gig, or whether you're doing Uber or Lyft or whatever the case may be, there's opportunity out there to change your situation.
Yeah.
And, one of the things I joke with, I believe in law of attraction, right? You think positive thoughts, you're going to have the positive stuff come back at you, but it's not all. I can't sit here and think, okay, I'm going to be rich and just not do anything, right? Law of attraction, the last few letters in that law of attraction is action, right? You've got to take action in order for the law of attraction to work. But it is about being positive and things like that with regards to the money. But again, it goes back to that identity of, where do you see money? And a lot of people look at it as, oh, I can't make too much. Well, that's not even biblical, right? I mean, it's one of those, you look at the and again, I'm not going to get preachy, but the parable of talents, right? Who was rewarded? It was the person who went out and grew the most. And it's because, okay, you're going to further your mission. If you're a good person, that's a good thing, because now you're able to take that resource and either, share it with others, share it with your family, or, bring in, your whatever your cause is, kind of help them along the way, whether it's your church or your charity or whatever the case may be. Or the flip side of that is, I talk about life insurance quite a bit. You look at the big picture on who benefits from life insurance, and really it's the government benefits from you having life insurance. Your family does. That's the immediate need. But by you not having and putting your family out to risk, right, by not having life insurance to protect your family, who's going to have to step in and handle that? The government is, right? And so, it is one of those things, teaching people how to make that money and teaching people how money works. And really, again, all those different steps, boy, I've spent years kind of formulating this. It changes lives. And then you teach somebody like, I teach you, you've got children, right? So what do you do in turn? You want your children to win. You want your children to succeed. So you start teaching them those money habits at home, little by little, in little bite-sized packets. And then next thing you know, we've made a huge change. So,
yeah. One thing when you were talking, I was thinking about, and we can wrap it up with this. I know we're trying to keep this at like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I have talked to a lot of people recently who need more money, but I'm actually blown away by how many people I hear this from, but they're afraid of losing their unemployment.
Yeah.
You get that ever?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to encourage anyone watching that feels that way to work on your money mindset, because, or people that are like, oh, I have this side gig that I know I can crush if I leave my full-time gig, but they're afraid to make that transition because of benefits, health insurance.
Yeah.
It's like, grow your mind to believe in yourself and to know what's possible, because me leaving the corporate world and building my business far outweighed the money that I would have, that would have been taken care of for me in health insurance, right? And there's people out there hurting right now, living so tight on unemployment, that are so talented, that if you just trusted yourself and found people to mentor you, help you handle your money, help you grow a side hustle, whatever, out earn it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge.
So anyway, I don't know if someone needed to hear that, but I felt like I needed to share that.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And I come across it quite a bit, especially when you look at second careers, retirees. Well, I don't want to start making a bunch of money in retirement either, because it'll impact my Social Security benefits or whatever, how it's taxed. Well, you can so out earn that. I mean, especially like benefits, like you talked about. I mean, you're talking, $1,000 to $2,000 in a month. That may seem like a lot to a lot of people, but I saw an Instagram post yesterday on, or was a reel on, I don't know. Anyway, it's one of the social medias. It was one of the people from Shark Tank talking about jobs, and jobs are a great place to learn an industry or whatever the case may be. But he was talking about salaries and benefits are the tokens that they give you.
Yeah.
to give up on your dreams.
Mm,
And I was just like, wow, that's deep. I mean, you really think about it now, I want you to hear me say that again. Salaries and benefits are what employers give you to give up on your dreams.
mm,
And, they're paying you less than you're actually worth. Now it's just, safe bet. I think job security, having been laid off out of the corporate world 3 times, is kind of out the window. It's a perceived safety, right? It's a perceived safety. But it makes people feel good and things like that. But it's one of those that, is it real? And I don't think so. But, going back to what you were saying, yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, don't let that scarcity mindset
mhm.
hold you back from greatness. And everyone listening to this, whether you're watching it right now or watching in the future, on a replay, you've got it within you. It's just a matter of finding the right coaches to be around you and help you get there, kind of, give a hand up. Right. And that's what a good coach does. So,
Yep. And I'm passionate in my coaching about helping people monetize their genius online.
Yeah.
And then, John, you're passionate about helping people manage the money that comes in, do the right things, and build wealth. So
yeah, exactly. So we'll kind of close with that. But if you've got an idea or a topic that you want to learn about, please do me a favor. You can reach out to myself or Wendy. You can find me at Black Swan Money on Instagram, or even go to blackswanmoney.com, and it'll actually take you to my main Facebook page. You can kind of put in an instant message there, or DM or whatever. Let me know. And then, Wendy, if you've got anything to add.
Nope. Thanks for having me. It's good conversations, and we'll dig deeper as the weeks go on, and excited to learn from you and also share as I'm able. So
awesome.
Thanks for having me, John.
Good deal. Thanks, everybody. And make it a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.